On a cloudy and rainy day, the community and family gathered at the wake of Lucas Martins, a respected officer who had mysteriously disappeared during a mission. Lucas's family, distant and without news for years, arrived early, taking their place beside the closed casket, while Lucas's colleagues silently approached, all in uniform. Among them, one stood out, Thor, Lucas's police dog companion, visibly saddened by the loss. "He was more than a partner, he was a friend," murmured one of the colleagues, stroking Thor's head. As people paid their last respects, Lucas's mother, with tears in her eyes, approached the casket, whispering, "My dear son, how I wish I had seen you one more time." The somber atmosphere of the wake was punctuated only by the soft sobs of the family and the constant sound of rain outside. Thor, who had been lying calmly, began to show signs of restlessness. His ears moved nervously, and he let out low whimpers, staring fixedly at the casket. "What could be happening with him?" asked one of the attendees, confused by the dog's sudden change in behavior. Another officer tried to calm Thor, saying, "Easy, buddy. He's at peace now." But the dog did not relent, letting out louder whimpers and showing increasing agitation. As Thor's whimpers became more insistent, a palpable tension spread among the funeral attendees. People exchanged confused and worried looks, unable to understand the reason for the dog's distress. "He's never acted like this before," commented one of Lucas's colleagues, unsuccessfully trying to move Thor away from the casket. A murmur of unease began to circulate among the mourners. "Could Thor sense something we don't?" questioned Lucas's aunt, gripping a handkerchief tightly in her trembling hands. Meanwhile, a senior officer known for his experience with police dogs approached cautiously, observing Thor closely. He said, "There are cases where dogs detect things we can't. Thor might be trying to tell us something important." Lucas's mother, already shaken by the loss, looked at the dog and then at the casket, hesitant. "What could it be?" He's there," she said, her voice choked with doubt and growing fear. Thor, for his part, showed no signs of calming down. With his eyes fixed on the casket, he alternated between painful whimpers and attempts to draw the attention of the attendees, as if he were in a state of deep despair. One of Lucas's closest friends, observing the scene, suggested, "Maybe we should check if something is wrong, just to calm Thor." The suggestion, that a controversial, gained the support of some attendees, driven by curiosity and growing anxiety. After all, if Thor, the loyal companion who had never behaved this way, was so disturbed, there might be something wrong. "Let's do it then," agreed the senior officer after a brief look at the family, seeking silent approval for Thor and for Lucas. Before the chaotic unfolding at the funeral, Lucas Martins and Thor had a story that spoke of loyalty, dedication, and an unexpected friendship. Lucas, from a very young age, showed a special affinity for dogs, and this passion guided him through his career until he became a K-9 officer. When he met Thor, a German shepherd with a complicated past, something extraordinary happened. "I've never seen a bond form so quickly," commented the department captain, observing the two together during training. Thor was a challenge, but Lucas saw something in him that no one else did. Thor had lost his previous partner under tragic circumstances, making him distrustful and distant, but under Lucas's patience and care, he began to open his heart again. "Lucas, he understands you, doesn't he?" Lucas's mother once asked, noticing how Thor followed him with admiring eyes. "Yes, Mom, it's like he knows exactly what I'm thinking," Lucas replied, laughing as he patted Thor. The turning point in their partnership came when they were called to a critical mission: the search for a missing child in the local forests. Conditions were unfavorable, night was falling, and hopes of finding the child alive were diminishing by the moment. "Thor, we need her. Can you do this, boy?" Lucas looked into Thor's eyes, conveying the urgency of the situation. With a determined bark, Thor took the lead, using his exceptional sense of smell to guide them through the dense vegetation. Despite the initial skepticism of the rescue team, Lucas's unwavering faith in Thor soon proved justified. Battling against time and the elements, Thor, with Lucas in tow, led the team directly to the missing child who was injured but alive. It was a miraculous rescue, a testament to the deep bond and mutual understanding between a man and his dog. "You saved a life today, Thor. We both did," Lucas said to the dog, hugging him tightly under the relieved and grateful gaze of the child's parents and the rescue team members. That moment cemented the duo's reputation within the department and the community. Lucas and Thor became local heroes, but more importantly, they solidified a partnership that seemed destined to face any challenge the future might hold. The nightly patrol routine took an unexpected turn for Lucas, Thor, and the department's newcomer, Officer Pedro Alves, dedicated to combating a recent wave of residential burglaries in the area. The three navigated the shadows of a quiet neighborhood known for its lack of surveillance. "Lucas, do you really think we'll catch them tonight?" Pedro asked, tense at every moving shadow. "With Thor by our side, I always have hope," Lucas replied, fully trusting his canine partner. As the night deepened, a suspicious silence enveloped the neighborhood. Thor suddenly stopped, bristling and emitting a low growl. Lucas noticed the change in Thor's behavior and signaled Pedro to stay alert. "Thor senses something. Let's follow his lead," said Lucas as Thor silently guided them to the backyard of an isolated house. The shadows of the night concealed hooded figures attempting to force entry through the back door. "Police, hands up." Lucas announced their presence, weapon drawn, hoping for a peaceful surrender. Then the unexpected happened. A shot rang out in the darkness, followed by a series of events that would change their lives forever. One of the burglars, catching everyone by surprise, fired in Lucas's and Pedro's direction. Lucas, acting on instinct, pushed Pedro out of the line of fire but couldn't escape unscathed. Thor, sensing the danger, lunged at the attacker but was hit in the process. "Lucas, Thor," Pedro shouted, desperate, returning fire against the burglars now fleeing in chaos. Reinforcements quickly arrived at the scene, but the damage was already done. Lucas lay on the ground, gravely injured, with Thor by his side, equally wounded. "Hold on, we'll get you out of here," said one of the officers as emergency teams worked frantically to stabilize Lucas and Thor. At the hospital, the tension was palpable. Pedro, covered in blood that wasn't his, awaited news, hoping for a miracle. But the news that came broke hearts. Lucas Martins had succumbed to his injuries. Thor, on the other hand, was stable, but the loss of his partner was a wound no medical procedure could heal. Pedro, devastated, murmured a promise to his departed friend. "I'll take care of Thor, Lucas. I promise." That tragic night, the neighborhood lost not only a protector but a hero, and Thor lost more than a partner. He lost his best friend, his guide, his family. In the confusion and urgency of that night at the hospital, a critical mistake was made. Lucas Martins and Pedro Alves, both rushed to the emergency room, had their identities swapped due to a bureaucratic error. While the doctors fought to save their lives, their personal belongings and identifications were inadvertently placed in the wrong bags. In the waiting room, the heavy silence was occasionally broken by anxious whispers and the ringing of phones. The hospital staff moved hurriedly, a reflection of the tension dominating the environment. "How could this happen?" questioned Dr. Almeida, head of the medical team, upon realizing the mix-up. The severity of the injuries had required immediate decisions and actions, leaving little room for detailed verification of the patient's identities. Pedro, now in an induced coma due to the severity of his injuries, was registered under Lucas's name, and Lucas, whose battle for life ended that fateful night, was identified as Pedro. When Lucas's family arrived, anxious for news, they were informed, based on the swapped records, that Lucas was in a coma. The emotional confusion intensified with the revelation, leaving them clinging to the hope that there was still time for goodbyes. The truth about the mix-up only came to light when preparations for funeral began. The funeral home, following the hospital's instructions, prepared to honor Pedro based on the belongings and identification accompanying Lucas's body. "It can't be. There must be some mistake," murmured Lucas's mother, confused and anguished upon receiving the news from the hospital about her son's coma. The pain of loss now mixed with disbelief and the need for answers. The error went unnoticed until the critical moment at the funeral when Thor, Lucas's faithful police dog, refused to calm down, whimpering incessantly at the casket. His intense reaction raised doubts and set the need to verify the true identity of the man lying inside the casket. It was a brutal awakening to the reality that in moments of crisis, human error can lead to devastating consequences. The hospital staff, facing the truth of what had happened, prepared to face the repercussions of their mistake, while Lucas's family clung to the hope that somehow their loved one might still be alive. As the true identity of the body in the casket began to be questioned, the decision to conduct a re-examination was made. The shocking revelation that followed cast an even darker shadow over the already somber day of the funeral. When the casket lid was slowly opened, a sharp cry tore through the silence. Inside lay not Lucas Martins but Pedro Alves. Lucas's mother, paralyzed by shock, recoiled, her hands trembling as the reality of the mistake began to unfold. "This is impossible," she whispered, her voice choked with confusion and despair. Beside her, Thor finally calmed down, lying down quietly as if his mission was complete, confirming the silent suspicions he had raised. The department head, recognizing the terrible error, immediately called a meeting with the hospital staff. The investigation revealed that on the night of the incident, the rush to treat the injured led to a fatal mix-up of identifications. "We failed," admitted the hospital director, deeply shaken, while explaining to Lucas's family what had happened. The discovery of the error forced the suspension of the funeral. A new service was quickly organized to properly honor Lucas Martinez, this time with his true body present. Pedro's family, equally affected by the news, was informed about the condition of their loved one, still in a coma but alive. The hospital and the police department faced severe criticism and promised rigorous reviews of their procedures to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. Against all odds, Pedro began to show signs of recovery weeks later. Though the road to full recovery was long, the news of his improvement offered a glimmer of hope amid the mourning. Lucas was finally honored appropriately, with Thor beside his casket paying one last tribute to the partner he had loved and lost. The ceremony was marked by tears, memories, and the recognition of a life dedicated to service. Thor, now without his companion, faced an uncertain future. However, inspired by the dog's unwavering loyalty, the department decided that Thor would be retired from active service, living out his days in peace alongside Lucas's family. "He deserves to rest. He deserves to be happy," stated the department head, while Thor, with a serene look, seemed to approve of the decision.